Okay, what should we do for the awkward pre-video introduction?
Awkward preview. I mean, I love the awkward preview introductions.
I think it's a
It should be a thing.
Ah!
All right. Hey guys, hello internet. It's Joseph.
Kyle.
We're here again with another big splash movie review. Really happy about all the hits we got on our Star Wars Force Awakens one.
A lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah, well, it was unexpected, but it was fun. Pleasantly surprised. There's a fun going against the grain, generating controversy.
Yes,
And
which we might do again, depending on how much audiences agree with critics on Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
The two of us actually disagree.
You don't entirely agree on this either.
On some stuff.
Yes.
It depends. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So Batman v Superman. I really didn't like it.
And I enjoyed it. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was great, but at the same time, I didn't think it was terrible either. It was good. It was fun. I thought it was fun, which is kind of funny.
Basically, I mean, my problem with it was that they had a lot of great characters in there and a lot of great ideas that none of them they really developed at all. In terms of characters, I mean, like they basically just had them like speak plot points to move the plot, such as it was, forward, without ever really giving us a chance to like have fun with and get to know the characters. The best example of that is the apartment scene with Clark and Lois. They didn't have like that should have been a scene where like you get to know them and you get to enjoy and care about their relationship, and instead it was just like, oh, let's recite all of the angsty reasons you have to be angsty and all the stuff that we're foreshadowing for the future. They had a lot of great ideas in there, like with just power and democracy and God and stuff like that, but didn't really ever take the chance to develop them at all. So that's my big problem with it. And the thing is, like, if you're going to be shallow about the ideas you're expressing and characters expressing, you have to at least make it fun. This really reminded me a lot of the Avengers movie, because in Avengers it's just throwing a bunch of like superheroes at you and interacting with each other and action and stuff like that. And it was kind of shallow, but at least it was like the dialogue was characters bantering with each other, the jokes flying, and then just fan service of like, yeah, let's just show this character fighting that character, and it was fun. And if you're not going to like go super deep, because critics were like saying, oh, it was too dark. It wasn't too dark. Dark Knight movies were darker than this, but it was dark without going deep enough to justify it. If you're going to go that dark, you have to go deep enough. Otherwise, you have to just make it fun, which they really didn't do, in my opinion.
Which is kind of funny, because I walked out of it going, I felt like it was fun, but that's about it. Like the Avengers movies, which is kind of funny. I don't know what that says about me, but no, I agree with the people who think that at times the plot felt a bit convoluted. But for me, I guess on a preferential level, that didn't bother me as much, because I still felt like all of those elements were still good and were telling a good and interesting story, even if they could have been tied together a bit more. I was still like, okay, I can still tell what the movie's doing, and it's still it's doing it well enough that I'm enjoying it. I really like Ben Affleck's Batman and that James Bond-esque investigation kind of stuff he was doing. I actually really like Lex Luthor, which I was pleasantly surprised about. I hated the Jesse Eisenberg casting when they announced it. I was like, no, I wanted Benedict Cumberbatch or just someone intimidating, please. And if I could go back in time and have some hypothetical influence and have them choose a different kind of way of doing the character, I probably still would. But in the movie, I actually really liked what they were doing with their interpretation of Lex Luthor, and I thought Jesse Eisenberg actually did a really good job, which I was surprised. I'm like, wow, I'm actually not bothered by this. He's actually doing well. Okay, this is good. So yeah.
I mean, and like I said, I agree with you. I like Jesse Eisenberg. I mean, he's not my interpretation of Lex Luthor. The interpretation they were going through was not the one that I like. But they, for the interpretation, I liked Jesse Eisenberg with it. And that's again with my frustration. They didn't give him a chance much to do anything, with one exception we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. It's like immediately we meet him and it's like, oh, I'm going to recite plot points that are forced dialogue and doesn't really get you a chance to get to know him and hate him or love him.
And then in terms of interactions with the plot, like the courtroom scene, for example, something that we both agree with is I think it would have been a lot better. We think it would have been a lot better if, rather than having it where the senator like tips you off that something is wrong and then the explosion happens right away, rather than having that, have take time in that Senate hearing to have these discussions about like the implications of like Superman, basically all this stuff, like have that kind of take place in that setting, and then like have that kind of like if you've seen like Skyfall, when M is talking about the issues that they're dealing with while stuff is going on off screen that represents exactly what she's talking about, that kind of dichotomy of the politics and then the nitty gritty. I think it would have been really interesting to have kind of like that, a similar situation like that, but with a different take where they're having this debate and then suddenly out of the blue the explosion happens.
Because I was really looking forward to that. I was looking forward to, you have these big ideas going on, and then you actually get a chance to, that courtroom scene was the moment where I was thinking, okay, we're going to actually debate this. We're going to have this discussion. Because these are a lot of really important ideas, and you had the potential to do what The Dark Knight did, which is to have these big ideas and have a discussion with it, which superhero movies can do, but they haven't been doing because Marvel has gone on a certain track. They know a formula that works, which is not to do that. So DC had a chance to do that, and really didn't. There's one thing that we really agree on, where they did actually have an idea and then actually develop it and actually more or less pay it off. That's like the one scene which we both agree on, which was good, which is sort of funny because on Star Wars Force Awakens we also had like
there was that one scene that's really good,
yeah.
And that one for us, this one was the skyscraper scene with Superman and Lex Luthor right after he saves Lois and goes back up. That was very interesting on multiple levels.
Yeah.
So number one, the philosophical.
Yeah. So you have Lex Luthor, who is basically saying the reason he hates Superman and wants to destroy Superman is because because of losing faith in God, honestly. Because you realize God could not be all good and all powerful. He hates that Superman is giving people faith that there can be someone who is all good and all powerful. And that was fascinating to me, and I think that's something that, if I ever wrote Lex Luthor, I would want to bring that out in there, because I think that's a really good interpretation of the character.
And then continuing from that, I actually really liked how they used that to set up the actual fight between Superman and Batman. I thought like him threatening to kill his mother if he didn't fight Batman was something that like you could get invested in, but at the same time it takes you by surprise, because the archetype of the villain threatening loved one of the hero is done before, but right after he saves Lois, you're like, okay, all right, so that's done, we're good. And Superman's like, yeah, she's safe. What do you got? What are you gonna do now? And he's like, no, I have your mom, and I'm gonna kill her if you don't fight Batman. And I'm like, oh shoot, like stuff just got real. Like this is actually like, wow, okay.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. I thought it really worked, even though I normally might not thought it did. What was really great about that was like that was a natural outpouring of his ability to say either Superman has to be good or bad. He can't be obviously good or powerful. He can't be both, because the whole thing was like either Batman will kill him and so he's not all powerful, or Superman will kill Batman and then he's not all good. And so that was, I thought, really very strong and very, very exciting. So I really, and if the whole movie had been more like that, I really, really would have been excited about it and thought it was a great movie. But it wasn't. And I guess ultimately it's like that bothers me more than it does you. The fact that there was just these very shallow, surface level stuff that they don't really develop all that much. But so yeah. Any other thoughts?
I didn't like the end.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird, because at first I thought like, oh, they're doing what Superman Returns did, but better almost, until they didn't bring him back to life at the end. And the reason I didn't really like that was because it felt like, because this is still an introduction to the Justice League movie, like he's gonna come back to life later, so it just was kind of like okay, like it feels like the drama of having him die and then stay dead by the time the credits are rolling up, of course with the exception of the dirt levitating. Even if like at the end of Civil War, Steve Rogers dies and then comes back to life in Infinity War. I still think that's a more appropriate way to do it because in that instance, it's at the end of his story arc, and also you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Whereas with this, you know, the Justice League movies are coming. You know he's going to be brought back to life. So I just thought that was a weird choice to leave him like that at the end of the film.
Yeah, I mean, like personally, I mean, like that didn't bother me quite as much as the fact that you have the death of Superman's story all crammed together in like 5 minutes, which is more like wasted potential, which is what they've done throughout the entire movie. But neither here nor there. I mean, like, I liked the shot of like the passion moment where they had, because I like,
oh, this is a real Good Friday movie.
Yeah, it really is.
The imagery of them pulling down from the thing wrapped in the cape. I'm like, wow, this is like really overt.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and normally I don't like the overt religious messaging with Superman. But I thought that they were actually very effective with it this time. So anyway. Yeah, so that's our view. Feel free to sound off in the comments of what you thought. Whether or not you agree with me that it was horrible, or with him that it was fun, or you agree with neither of us. I think we're both idiots. You may not entirely be wrong. But leave a comment, leave like, and look forward to Captain America: Civil War.
Yes, very excited for that.
All right, hang tight, true believers, and all that stuff, and give us more hits because. Let's make more hits than Star Wars Force Awakens. Just keep going up. That's yeah.